Well, good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Today is July 21st, 2023. And regardless of the date and time and whatever, my name's Larry Jacobs. This is Free K-12 Education Talk Radio. And we're going to be continuing a conversation with a wonderful principal and the man who is president of the Maryland Association of Secondary School Principals. That's Mike Brown. Michael is the principal of Winters Mill High School. He's been there, I think he told me yesterday, for 6 years. We started this conversation yesterday, and due to a technical glitch caused by yours truly, we had to break off the show after 15 minutes of terrific conversation about all the changes that have taken place at the school and how good the Winters Mill is, etc. So I wanted to talk today, and we're going to continue right now with Mike about how his organization, the Maryland Association of Secondary School Principals, works with the state legislature. They're redoing education, rethinking it. The legislature is, and they had a little glitch in their system, and Mike picked it up. So let me say good morning to Michael. Hi, Mike.
Good morning, Larry. How you doing, sir? Take two, huh?
Probably say it again. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you. Say it again.
No, I said, good morning, sir. How you doing? I was like, take two.
Well, welcome to take two, and the reason take one was so short, I'll take the hit. It was my fault. Okay, but you're a good guy. The conversation was great yesterday. We're going to continue it today, and I gotta thank NASSP for putting us together. This is great. I also meant to ask you, do you know Ryan Daniels in Maryland? She's the president of NAESP. You know her?
I know Dr. Daniels very well, so she's outstanding. Yes, I do.
She certainly is. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew each other. If not, I was going to introduce you because she's been on the show. And the day I talked to her, she was taking, I think, her entire school on a bus trip to New York to see The Lion King. I think that's where when I talked to her on the bus. So it's great. I assume they got back safely and had a great time. But please, if you see her, tell her I said hello. Okay?
I would definitely do that, sir.
Yeah, she's good. And then you call me Larry. You got to stop the sir. This is Southern. You get to Maryland, okay? You start to get into the South, okay? And every Southern person I know loves to call me sir. Okay, you don't have to do that. What can I tell you? Okay, it's Larry. All right.
Yes,
right.
sir.
Unless the Queen. I know it is. I know it is.
Yeah.
The only way this will change is if King Charles of England calls me and says I'm about to be knighted. Then you can call me sir.
I got you.
Okay, the chance of that is slim, but at any rate, okay, you can do that. All right. Anyway, all right, sir. I'm only kidding. Michael, all right. Well, I said, you guys wrote this. Maryland's reimagining education. Okay, and you got a great new governor down there. I'm sure things are going to be changed, but there was a glitch. But let me ask this question first. How are they reimagining education? What are they doing? What are you guys on top
of? Well, the big thing is that Maryland, this legislation, blueprint for education, legislation that has been introduced and passed in the Maryland state legislature. It is a huge piece of legislation, the likes that Maryland has never really seen before, really focusing in on bringing back the dignity of the teaching profession, raising the bar. And I know that's another educational cliche, but raising the bar for Maryland students to compete globally. I know we say that in many mission statements and so forth, but they have really done, put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, as far as the research on what it's going to take for students to compete globally. So they formed a commission. They researched other high-performing school districts, not only in the United States, but also abroad, and wanted to find out, as far as Korea and Norway and different other high-performing school districts, to find out what are the commonalities and what are the things that those school districts do well. and they wanted to try to formalize that in a series of buckets, if you will. And these buckets are what the focus for students are going to be moving on from, 20, 30, 5 or 32 on. So we have a little bit of time now until I think 2032 or 2035 for it to be fully implemented. But cool. Maryland is already starting the process to implement some of those things. So it goes as far as paying teachers more money, bringing back the dignity to the profession, where now teachers and educators are now respected as doctors and lawyers, as we all should be. But Absolutely. In America, we just don't do that. But they found out in other countries that's exactly what's going on. The teachers and educators are being paid on some of these similar scales, and it is a highly sought-after profession, and it's a highly respected profession. And so here, we need to try to focus in on that. So we, school districts around the state are already, and school boards are already trying to catch up with that, bringing their pay scales up to that minimum salary of $60,000 starting salary.
Absolutely.
For teachers
you have
in
to.
the state of Maryland.
You have to.
Yeah. So that's
going
to be huge. Because I know teachers work hard, and I know pay is one of the main, bargaining things that happen every single year to try to bring their pay up to where they think they should get paid for all the fabulous things that teachers do, and outside. I have to say, and outside of the classroom, because the bulk of their work is being done outside of the classroom, and a lot of times they don't feel as though they're getting paid. And also, the pandemic really did a number on teachers as well. I mean, you talked about that earlier, but it's something that I think the legislation in totality is a huge undertaking. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of support through individual school districts. And every individual school district, I'll just say this, has their own set of challenges to meet those markers. And so at a larger school district, their challenges to meet the blueprint legislation may be different than where I'm at in a rural school district. But it's going to be challenges either way, and so we all got to kind of meet the work together and see what comes out of this. But first and foremost, I think it's a huge step for the state of Maryland to even approve something like this. Very, very huge.
I think it is huge, and I'm going to say one thing about what you said. I loved all of what you said, except we were saying we want kids to compete in a global economy. That's why we're doing this. And my answer to that is, we want, in your case, in the case of Maryland, we want Maryland's economy to shine. If we don't educate kids properly, Maryland will not shine. Okay, Maryland's goal is to make Maryland competitive. Okay, and they are, by the way, but always keep them competitive and hopefully keep people in Maryland, which, by the way, is a pretty nice state. Okay, and everybody talks about global economics. Let's talk about local economics. Okay, people move to a place where the schools are good. You got good teachers. You got good schools. All right, and you want these kids to stay in Maryland. You want them to succeed in the 21st century world of business and enterprise. It's so obvious. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm so glad Maryland is smart enough to think about it. You've had a couple of really good governors over the last few years, okay, and you got one now, and that matters. It really matters. So this is good stuff. Right. All that said, go ahead, Mike. Go.
No, I was just going to follow up to that. Is that Maryland also recognized, and another, I think was probably the main reason, for this legislation is we used to be one of the top performing school districts, as far as statewide in the country. I mean, Maryland was always, at least in the top 10.
What school district are you? What school district? Are you referring to the state, or are you referring to yours?
I'm talking about the state. I'm talking about the state.
Okay.
So Maryland used to always be one of the top performing.
Yep. Absolutely.
In the country, and so that has started to slip and dip, over the last decade, and so we had to take a long, hard look at that and try to find out what were some of those things and the reasons why. And so I think Maryland, like you said, they want to perform well, locally first. And I think globally that's also something where they want students to compete. But we definitely want to be one of those top performing in the country so our students can compete as far as like nationally. So I think that's also a key.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. All right, but it's all good stuff, Michael. I got to tell you, all that said, okay, this is the interesting part. Well, that's interesting, but this is even more interesting. As the state of Maryland legislature was putting things together, they popped something in there that you guys somehow discovered. All right, and you want to get into the great 20% rule that did not work?
Yeah, so, anybody that's I don't know how familiar, all the listeners are with, just as far as legislation. To me, it's kind of new, so I didn't really start paying attention to it. I mean, I know No Child Left Behind came out.
Yeah.
Probably pretty much in the beginning of
my
career. Yeah. But I didn't, you just listen to whatever, people tell you, what you got to do, and you just, as a teacher, you just roll with it. But even at that time, it wasn't something where I actually picked up the legislation. It was like, oh yeah, let me read through the thing to see what everything says. So these pieces of legislation have a lot to it, and so
they do.
All of it is meaningful. Yeah, every word in it is meaningful and impactful. And so a lot of times we have to take time out to actually look and read the legislation. So what we kind of found out was by really looking through it, and we did, trust me, me and my colleagues, you mentioned, Dr. Ryan, she's been a huge part of it because she's president during, this particular time as well with elementary school principals in Maryland. So we had to actually look through it, and there was something that we found that was really interesting. And I'll just read it verbatim. What the bill originally said. It says an assistant principal is on level 3 of the career ladder and must be a nationally board certified teacher and have an advanced professional certificate for administration. An assistant principal must teach in a classroom for at least 20% of his or her working hours and spend the remaining time on other teacher activities as specified. And so,
yeah, and but I have to say, they stuck that line in there, and believe me when I tell you this, they have no idea. And this has changed, by the way, thanks to you guys. But the legislature has no idea what being an assistant principal is like. Okay, and they think, oh, this guy's got 20% of the time. He's got his feet up on the desk 30%, so he'll still have 10% to lay off. Yeah, like they have 20% of their day to. Oh my God! Unbelievable. Anyway, please, that's my rant. Please continue. It's absurd.
No. I mean, but I mean, so the first thing we had asked was, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to really take in from what the current job is, and so we had to actually start edifying our base and. All the other amazing administrators in the state, they're actually letting them know, hey, look, this is what's actually going on. This is what this says. And trying to, make sure everybody understood. This is we have to be active in the process, or this isn't going to go well. This isn't going to something that's going to be changed. Even though they said everything was kind of fluid and it wasn't so set in stone. Well, we all know how that goes if you don't do anything. It is going to be set in stone.
That's right.
That was number one. Number two, we had to figure out who and how we were really going to go about attacking to try to get this wording changed. And so I have to give a shout out to superintendents across the state of Maryland as well and their organization. AASA is a national organization, and they do a lot of great work. They also recognize this, and they also were saying, I don't know how my assistant principal was like, do you all understand how much stuff that principals and administrators are responsible for and what goes on in a regular school day. Most administrators will tell you a lot of that time is eaten up with things that are unscheduled, I would say. I did a piece for Education Week, Day in the Life of a School Principal, and you all can check that out. It's probably still on their website. And what it did was it categorized my whole day from the minute I came into work to at night, from the minute I laid my head on the pillow. And what you'll find by looking at that is all the unscheduled things. And it had markers like whatever was scheduled, unscheduled. And it far exceeded the things that were unscheduled for that day that took up the bulk of my time. So it's not the scheduled things, the unscheduled. So to be able to say, okay, well, 20% of the time, assistant principals are going to be in the classroom teaching and possibly be teaching a record, which that doesn't say that, but that's what it insinuates, is a huge undertaking, because that means that what about all the other unscheduled things that are going to come up? Who's going to handle those things when they come up while I'm in the classroom? Are you going to afford us an additional assistant principal for every single school to be able to do? So there was a lot of different things that would choose that. So I will also say we had to figure out who to talk to. So we actually pulled in and Dr. Kerwin, who is, I wouldn't say he's the architect, but he's one of the major players in the state of Maryland as far as education, a really respected gentleman, done a lot in his career in regards to trying to make Maryland education better. And so we had to actually talk to, it was the Kerwin Commission who, originally kind of put some of these things together. So it's like, look, we want to talk to the source. So we actually talked to him. We had him come to a virtual meeting with our association, and he politely just, said he would. Shout out to Dr. Kerwin, because he was transparent along the whole way. It wasn't like he was combative or this is what it is, you guys deal with it. It was like, yes, we want to hear feedback. They wanted to hear feedback. They wanted to hear from people. Good. And that was awesome, because we actually got an opportunity to do that. My amazing executive director, Addie Kaufman, Dr. Kaufman, she orchestrated some of these meetings, and thankful to her, she has a great relationship around the state of Maryland. We were able to actually talk to him, and what he did was, in these meetings, he said, look, I hear you all. And again, principals, we're not going to hold back what we have to say. So we let him know, look, have you thought about this? We also asked, why wasn't a principal or assistant principal or administrator on this commission when it was formed? They had a teacher on the commission. They had other political figures on the commission. But why not a active school principal on the commission when you were formulating all this, whether it was 5 years and so forth? Exactly. And he said that was, that was something that was missed. That was opportunity that was missed. And so I think a lot of this would have been dealt with then if they had an active administrator, that was on that commission at that time, and they did. So some of this stuff we're dealing with it on the back end. But we first did that. We also lobbied, not only at the state level, where I actually spoke in front of our state board, along with our entire organization, a little over a year ago, and we're just letting the state superintendent know and school board members know. And we also had them come to a meeting of ours as well. Let them know the same thing. So we hit Dr. Kerwin, we hit the state board and board representatives, and we went to the national level as well and advocated, because we have here in Maryland, we have an advocacy day that's in Washington, D.C. So, so administrators all over the country fly in to D.C., talk to, all their senators and congressmen about certain legislation that either they hadn't thought about or they need to rethink because they want to make sure that the best legislation is going out there for children. And so we also lobbied there as well. And, I would say none of this would be possible without great people working together. I know we say that in politics all the time whenever changes are made. It's not made if it's just one-sided or people don't agree or they say, I'm not dealing with this. Everybody has to be open to change. So at the state level, they were open to it nationally, and within our organization and lobbying. So we were able to make some changes to that, and we're excited about the possible changes in some of the wording. So I say that's a long-winded answer, but it takes a lot to change.
Great.
To change one paragraph. I'll tell you, it's like 2 sentences, but it takes a lot to change anything in the legislature.
Yeah, and it wasn't a long-winded answer. It was an answer, and it was an excellent answer. And you get an A for that one, Mr. Brown. You get an A for that one. Okay, I got to tell you.
Yes, sir.
All right, and it is good, and the work you're doing is great. And I was thinking while you were talking that if you said that probably any assistant principal in the state of Maryland or probably anywhere else, Jim, we're short of teachers. Susan, we're short of teachers. We need you to help out. Could you do that? If you ask them without mandating it, I don't think there's anybody who wouldn't say, of course I will. Okay? Because they care about the kids. Okay?
Yeah.
And somehow they find the time and effort to do it. But when you, if I may, mandate it without even talking to the people involved, okay, it just opens up a real can of worms. And look how much effort and work by so many people had to go in to change what was not well thought out to begin with. Okay, and then the other thing, and I think I talked to this person, is the superintendent. I don't know who the superintendent. If you said it, I might know of public instruction. The state chief school officer. Okay, did they pick up on this? I mean, I know you talked to them, but have they picked up on this beforehand? I'm thinking
that part I'm unaware of, whether they had picked it up or not, or how much they were aware of it, because I know at the MSDE level, they've gone through. I mean, we just got a new state superintendent a couple of years ago, so he came in and
who is that?
You have to kind of
who it is?
Mrs. Chowdhury. Chowdhury is his name.
Yes. Okay.
So he's somewhat new, and so sometimes you meet with your own challenges when you're coming in new and trying to get your feet under you. So I don't know. A lot of this stuff was already in motion before, he was named state superintendent. But I do know there was probably board members that might have been aware. But the thing is that you don't necessarily know until you know, right? Because on paper, this is the thing. On paper, it sounds great. Like, there's nobody that, if you don't know about education, you're like, well, what's the problem with that? Like, what's the issue? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't a administrator want to teach? Weren't they teachers anyway? Like, don't they like teaching and being in front of kids?
Yes,
so
that's the key word. They were teachers. They were teachers. That's W-E-R-E. Okay, and while they are always educators, okay, they're not teachers anymore. They're administrators, which is just as important. Okay, that's what people don't understand. You know,
it is. Yeah. And look, it is the thing, and we have to be careful about is just from administrative level. It's just like you said earlier. We love kids, right? That's the reason why we're doing what we're doing. That's the reason why we've taken our careers to where it's at, because we have a overabundance of love for kids. We want to see them succeed. We want to see them reach their dreams. We want to see them move on in life and be productive citizens. We love them. We didn't want to stop teaching. Most of us will tell you none of us really never wanted to stop teaching. It was an uncomfortable thing to move from being in the classroom to being an administrator. Most of us begrudgingly did it. Many of us did. And so to sit there and say, oh, well, they're only saying this because they don't want to. And it's easy. That could easily be, what the reality of the situation could be once you really start lobbying. Well, they don't want to be in the class. They don't want to teach. That's not what it is. What it is the job of being an administrator is so all-encompassing. To be able to do that job effectively,
right?
It takes everything you have. It takes everything that you have. And so you also don't want to be a disservice. Listen, I taught a class in my previous school district while I was assistant principal. I was, teacher of record, for a class. And it was a middle school class. And it was it was like an honors English class. And let me tell you, Larry, the amount of times that I had to find myself a substitute because something had come up that I had to handle, right?
Yeah,
it was a disservice to the student. It was a disservice to the student. These were students that were counting. These weren't just regular students. These were students that are counting on this content, and they loved me when I was teaching the class, but they were counting on me to get them prepared for high school the next year when they were going to be going to some of the magnet schools around the school district. And so every day I wasn't there was a huge deal for them. And so I don't want to be, and I say it because I lived it, so I know. A lot of administrators, they haven't lived it, so but to say a teacher is going to be teaching, administrator is going to be teaching 20% of the time, are you caring about the kids and the consistency of their education?
It's nuts. And I think actually, Mike, what might have been on their mind, I'm not even sure they know this, but there's we talked about this yesterday, there's a teacher shortage going on out there. Okay, they might have thought, well, maybe we can get around it by using the administrators. But that's just robbing Peter to pay Paul, the old saw. It's the old, speaking of cliches. Okay, it's just nuts. Okay, you can't run a school without great administration. Okay, it's a part and parcel of education. That's simple.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so that was the big fear is that are you going to make which the bill also says teachers are getting paid more money, so starting salary $60,000.
Good.
The bill has to adjust for that. If you make it so administration isn't something that is sought after, nobody will look to do it. So you'll have, maybe you'll fix the teacher shortage, but you'll have a massive administrative shortage because those outstanding teachers will stay in the classroom because they're like, why would I want to do what all you guys do? Oh, yeah, by the way, I have to teach as well? No, thank you. I'll just go ahead and stay in the classroom and get paid this bulk of money, and I'll go ahead and I'll do that. So it's not one of those things that people are knocking down the door to say, you know what, hey, I want to be an administrator, I want to be a principal. People understand how tough the job is. People know all the things that we do on the late nights and stuff like that, the responsibilities and so forth. So you can't make it where it's not an attractive situation for people to actually want to go into.
Yeah, and as we wind down here, Michael, I got to tell you, you guys did a really good job. Okay, and I know you worked with NASSP, good friends of mine as well, okay, as the Maryland chapter, to make this happen. And to let it, it'd be, the rule they tried to pass was like, they pass a bill that is 400 pages long, okay? And what you say to them is, listen, I want you to take time off from everything else you do and type the bill. You guys type it, okay? You got plenty of time, and watch their reaction, okay? Watch their reaction. What, are you crazy? I don't have the time for that, okay? And that's exactly what they were asking you to do. Okay, without understanding it. And you worked hard to make this done. And we always talk about this. I know Adam and I over at the NASSP, the whole thing is you have to be advocating for what you do and for the groups you represent. And I think what you did is great. We got to go, Mike. This was terrific. When does school start again?
So school will be starting in August. So we, we're looking forward to it. We're ramping up. We're doing our summer academies and getting ninth graders in, getting them acclimated to, being back in school again. So we're super excited about this. This is going to be year 2 of, back to normalcy. So I'm
normal.
excited
Yes,
about it.
It is. It's great. And I have to ask you just one last thing. Winters Mill High School. What's the name of the team mascot?
So we're the Winters Mill Falcons. So we're the Falcons.
The Falcons. My son's college team. Yeah, the Falcons.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. I hope the Falcons do have a good football season this year, and the kids do great.
Yeah,
and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
all good
appreciate
stuff,
it. Anybody needs to find me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. Michael C. Brown 54 is my at.
Great. I make sure we have this. This is terrific. Thank you, Mike. This is great to know you, and just have a good rest of the summer and a great school year. Thanks so much. Great.
Larry, I appreciate you, man. It's been an honor being on, sir. Thank you.
I've been honored to have you on. You're doing a hell of a good job on every angle, okay, that you're doing. So thank you, Mike. You take care. Be good.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Okay. It's the amazing Michael Brown. Okay, Michael's the principal of Winters Mill High School, but he's also the Maryland Association of Secondary School Principals president of that state group. Okay, doing a heck of a job. Adam, thank you over at NASSP for fixing me up with Michael. This was just great. All right, we're going to archive the show at ace-ed.org. And if you need to get in touch with me, I'm at larry@ace-ed.org. That's the home website of our Consortium for Equity. Everything's free over there, our magazine, our podcast, the Equity Awards, etc. So check it all out, ace-ed.org. Hey, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week.